Blog Talk Radio.
Read it.
Verse 12. Amos chapter 8, verse 12. And they shall wander from sea to sea.
And they shall wander from sea to sea. That means you're going from this place to this place. Well, let me go over here. Oh, Islam, I don't like that. Or let me go over to the Christian church. Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe let me go into Hinduism. Well, I don't know. I don't like this church because this preacher said this. I don't like this church because this preacher said that. Let me tell you, if you were in the Word, it wouldn't matter what the preacher would say. If you was in the Word, you'll be able to see over what he's teaching. But you're going from sea to sea, all over the place. Read.
Amos chapter 8, verse 12. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east.
Okay.
They shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Most High, and shall not find it.
You're going to wish one day you was able to sit in your cushy house and cut on your computer and see the word of the Most High. You're going to long for that time. You're going to wish you had that opportunity. Soon reading the Bible is going to be against the law of the earth. Soon. Soon. They're moving everyone into a new age movement. And the only thing you can believe in is yourself. Is yourself. And you are being programmed. That's going to be the belief system. Yourself. That's the new age movement. How grim and dark the government of this earth is. That all of them are in league and are in bed with Satan. That's the truth. Not one of them are with the Most High. Why? Because this kingdom was given into the hands of Satan. Job 9 and 24 tells you the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. So in order for you to rule in this government, you must go to Satan to get your power. He tried to offer it to Christ. Christ denied it. But who took it? All the governments in this earth who will soon pay. They live lavishly in this earth off the bones, blood, sweat, and tears of the children of Israel. Yes. But now they have to pay. It's time. All these wars in the earth are culminating. They're leading to their own demise. And we're just the people with no weapons. This is our weapon. The only thing we have is this, Christ, in the name of the Most High, and we'll win.
It's the music and words of the Gathering of Christ Church. You can find them at www.gatheringofchrist.org. Well, shalom, Israel, and everyone else. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are on the World Wide Web. You are listening to Let's Talk, brought to you by the Men Empowered Radio Show on the Blog Talk Radio Network at blogtalkradio.com. My name is Brother Malachi. I am your host for this edition of Late Night with the Book of Jasher. The Book of Jasher, chapters 75 through 77. I apologize for doing a change up on the time, but you know what it is. Things just come up and you just can't handle it. So we changed it up just for tonight and possibly tomorrow night. We will be back here again at 11:30 Central Standard Time. All right, the Book of Jasher, chapter 75. Want to remind you we are here Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. Central Standard Time with the exception of tonight and tomorrow. Also, we will be winding down the Book of Jasher. The last book of Jasher will be chapter 91. And we want to hear your final thoughts on the series when we get to the chapter 91 and your final thoughts on the Book of Jasher. Just about doing a comparison on the book of Jasher compared to Genesis, right now the book of Jasher is off the charts compared to Genesis. And you know that the book of Genesis goes up to chapter 50 and the book of Jasher goes up to 91. So we're off the charts right here. They have, in our last episode, we know that Moses has been made king over the Canaanites, and now we're fixing to get ready to get into chapter 75 and see what draws out on that. So we'll take a quick music break, about 4 minutes. We're going to listen to Bosnia of Praise by Joel McCrae, and going to let you go ahead and get your book of Jasher open to chapter 2. Let's talk right here on Blog Talk Radio. talk brought to you by the Men Empowered Organization. If you like to phone in and chime while we are here live, the number to call is 347-205-9279. Thank you all for joining us right there in the chat room. Feel free to comment, or if you have any question, we'll go ahead and relay that to our audience that is listening to via phone, as well as those who are listening in the archives after our live broadcast. The Book of Jasher, chapter 79. Just want to set this up. The 12 tribes of Israel, their descendants, their children, are already in captivity in Egypt, taken over by this present Pharaoh. Moses has basically left Egypt before Pharaoh comes to get him, and now he is made king among the Canaanites. So we're going to pick up at Jasher chapter 75, verse 1. At that time, in the 180th year of the Israelites going down into Egypt, there went from Egypt valiant men, 30,000 on foot, children of Israel, who were all of the tribe of Joseph, of the children of Ephraim, the son of Joseph. For they, verse 2, for they said, the period was complete, which the Most High had appointed to the children of Israel in the times of old, which he had spoken to Abraham. Verse 3, and these men girded themselves, and they put each man his sword at his side, and every man his armor up on him. And they trusted to their strength, and they went out together from Egypt with a mighty hand. Verse 4, but they brought no provision for the road, only silver and gold, not even bread for that day they bring in their hands. For they thought of getting their provisions for pay from the Philistines, and if not, they would take it by force. Verse 5, and these men were very mighty and valiant men. One man could pursue 1,000, and two could rout 10,000. So they trusted to their strength and went together as they were. Verse 6, and they directed their course toward the land of Gad, and they went down and found the shepherds of Gad feeding the cattle of the children of Gad. And they said to the shepherds, give us some of the sheep for pay, that we may eat, for we are hungry, for we have eaten no bread this day. Verse 8, and the shepherds said, are they our sheep or cattle that we should give to you even for pay? So the children of Ephraim approached today to take them by force. Verse 9, and the shepherds of Gad shouted over them, and their cry was heard at a distance. So all the children of Gad went out to them. Verse 10, and when the children of Gad saw the evil doings of the children of Ephraim, they returned and assembled the men of Gad, and they put on each man his armor, and came forth to the children of Ephraim for battle. Verse 11, and they engaged with them in the valley of Gad, and the battle was severe, and they smote from each other a great many on that day. Verse 12, and on the second day of the children of Gad, as G-A-T-H, sent to the cities of the Philistines that they should come to their help, saying, come up unto us and help us, that we may smite the children of Ephraim, who have come forth from Egypt to take our cattle, and to fight against us without cause. Verse 14. Now the souls of the children of Ephraim were exhausted with hunger and thirst, for they had eaten no bread for 3 days, and 40,000 men went forth from the cities of the Philistines to the assistance of the men of Gath. Verse 15, and these men were engaged in battle with the children of Ephraim, and delivered the children of Ephraim into the hands of the Philistines. Okay, verse 16, and they smote all the children of Ephraim, all who had gone forth from Egypt. None were remaining but 10 men who had run away from the engagement. You see, they don't have that anointing on them right now. Verse 17, for this evil was from the Most High against the children of Ephraim, for they transgressed the word of the Most High in going forth from Egypt before the period had arrived, had appointed to Israel. Verse 18, and of the Philistines also there fell a great many, about 20,000 men, and their brethren carried them and buried them in their cities. Verse 19, and the slain of the children of Ephraim remained forsaken in the valley of Gad for many days and years, and were not brought to burial, and the valley was filled with men's bones. Verse 20, and the men who had escaped from the battle came to Egypt and told all the children of Israel all that had befallen them. 21, and their father Ephraim mourned over them for many days, and his brethren came to console him. Verse 22, came unto his wife, and she bare a son, and he called his name Beral, for she was unfortunate in his house. Now we're moving on to chapter 76. Now we're back with Moses. And Moses, the son of Amram, was still king in the land of Cush in those days, and he prospered in his kingdom. And he conducted the government of the children of Cush in justice, in righteousness, and integrity. Before earlier, I said that they were Canaanites, but this says it was Cush. Just want to remind you that both Canaanites and Cush, they came from Ham, which is Noah's son. And just want to let you know that the 12 tribes of Israel, including Moses, all the 12 tribes are from the lineage or the seed of Seth. Excuse me. Yes, Seth is there, but this particular line comes from Shem. And all, verse 2, and all the children of Cush loved Moses all the days of that he reigned over them, and all the inhabitants of the land of Cush were greatly afraid of him. Verse 3, and in the 4th year of the reign of Moses over Cush, Moses was sitting on the royal throne, while as Adornah the queen was before him, and all the nobles were sitting around him. Now, Noah is not taking the queen into marriage because it was forbidden by law for us to go outside the 12 tribes. So this is the reason. Now, she is only because her husband was deceased. She is still queen far as marriage unto Moses. I think I got that right. Yeah. Verse 4. Let me read verse 3 again. And in the 40th year of the reign of Moses over Cush, Moses was sitting on the royal throne, while Adornah the queen was before him, and all the nobles were sitting around him. Verse 4, and Adornah the queen said before the king and the princes, what is this thing which you, the children of Cush, have done for this long time? Verse 5, surely you know that for 40 years that this man has reigned over Cush, he has not approached me, nor has he serve the gods of the children of Cush. Verse 6, now therefore hear, O ye children of Cush, and let this man no more reign over you, as he is not of our. You see that? He's not of Cush, he is of his father Jacob. Verse 7, behold, Menacrus, my son, is grown up. Let him reign over you. Here we go with a power struggle now. For it is better for you to serve the son of your Lord than to serve a stranger, slave of the king of Egypt. Oh, now they're using this as a power play, trying to, put him down, that he's a people now. Verse 8, and all the people and nobles of the children of Cush heard the words which Adoniah the queen had spoken in their ears. Verse 9, and all the people were preparing until the evening, and in the morning they rose up early and made Menacrus, son of Chilias, let me pronounce that right, Chilias, king over them. Verse 10, and all the children of Cush were afraid to stretch forth their hand against Moses, for the Most High was with Moses. And the children of Cush remembered the oath which they swore unto Moses. Therefore they did no harm to him. Verse 11, but the children of Cush gave many presents to Moses and sent him from them with great honor. Verse 12, so Moses went forth from the land of Cush and went out and ceased to reign over Cush. And Moses was 66 years old. He went out of the land of Cush, for the thing was from the Most High, for the period had arrived, which he had appointed in the days of old, to bring forth Israel from the afflictions of the children of Ham. Verse 13, so Moses went to Midian, for he was afraid to return to Egypt on the account of Pharaoh. Remember, he killed the Egyptian. And he went and sat well of water in Midian. Now we get to the point to where Moses is getting ready to get his family and getting ready to go up to that particular mountain. Verse 14, and in the 7 daughters of Reuel, the Midianites, you see how this is kind of bouncing here, showing Moses, who was king over there. But, in Genesis, it didn't give that full detail. That's why this is 91 chapters, and the book of Genesis is 50 chapters. Okay, we are getting ready to read this. Let me see here. One moment, please. Verse 14. And the 7 daughters of Reuel, the Midianites, went out to feed their father's flock. And Moses finna get hooked up right here. Verse 15. And they came to the well and drew water to water their father's flock. Verse 16. So the shepherds of Midian came and drove them away. And Moses rose up and helped them and watered the flock. Verse 17. And they came home to their father Reuel and told him what Moses did for them. Verse 18, and they said, an Egyptian man still fight in Egyptian people. And they said, an Egyptian man has delivered us from the hands of the shepherds. He drew up water for us and watered the flock. And Reuel said to his daughters, and where is he? Wherefore have you left this man? And Reuel sent for him and fetched him and brought him home, and he ate bread with him. Verse 21, and Moses related to Reuel that he had fled from Egypt and that he reigned 40 years over Cush, and that they afterward had taken the government from him and had sent him away in peace with honor and with presents. Verse 22. And when Reuel had heard the words of Moses, Reuel said within himself, I will put this man into the prison house, whereby I shall conciliate the children of Cush, for he has fled from them. Verse 23. And they took and put him into prison house. And Moses was in prison 10 years. And whilst Moses was in the prison house, Zipporah, the daughter of Reuel, took pity over him and supported him with bread and water all the time. Verse 24. And all the children of Israel were yet in the land of Egypt, serving the Egyptians in all manner of hard work. And the hand of Egypt continued in servitude over the children of Israel in those days. Verse 25. At that time the Most High smote Pharaoh's king of Egypt and afflicted the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. Owing to the crucial treatment of the children of Israel was the plague at that time from the Lord upon Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 26. Verse 26. And the Lord had hearkened to the prayer of his people, the children of Israel, and their cry reached him on account of their hard work. Verse 27. Still his anger did not turn from them, and the land of Pharaoh was still stretched out against the children of Israel. And Pharaoh hardened his neck before the Lord, and increased his yoke over the children of Israel, and enlightened their lives all manner of hard work. Verse 28. And when the Most High had inflicted the plague upon Pharaoh, king of Egypt, he asked his wise men and sorcerers to cure him. Verse 29. And his wise men and sorcerers said unto him, that if the blood of little children were put into the wounds, he would be healed. Verse 30. And Pharaoh hearkened to them, and sent his ministers to Goshen to the children of Israel to take their little children. Ministers went and took the infants of the children of Israel from the bosom of their mothers by force, and they brought them to Pharaoh daily, a child each day, and the physician killed them and applied them to the plague. Thus they all the days. Verse 32. And the number of the children which Pharaoh slew was 375. But the Lord hearkened not to the physicians of the king of Egypt, and the plagues went on increasing mightily. Verse 34. And Pharaoh was 10 years afflicted with this plague. Still the heart of Pharaoh was more hardened against the children of Israel. Verse 35. And at the end of 10 years, the Lord continued to afflict Pharaoh with destructive plagues. Verse 36. And the Lord smote him with a bad tumor and sickness at the stomach, and that plague turned to a severe boil. Verse 37. And at that time 2 ministers of Pharaoh came from the land of Cush, where all the children of Israel were, and went to the house of Pharaoh and said to him, we have seen the children of Israel slackers in their word, and the neglect in their labor. Verse 38. And when Pharaoh heard the words of his ministers, his anger was kindled against the children of Israel exceedingly, so for he has greatly grieved bodily pain. Verse 39. And he answered and said, now that the children of Israel know that I am ill, they turn and scoff at me, at us. Now therefore harness my chariot for me, and I will betake myself to Goshen, and will take the scoff and children of Israel with which they are deriding me. So his servants harnessed the chariot for him, and made him ride upon a horse, for he was not able to ride of himself. 41. And he took with him 10 horsemen and 10 footmen, and went to the children of Israel to Goshen. Verse 42. Hang in there, folks. Hang in there. And when they had come to the border of Egypt, the king's horse passed into a narrow place, elevating it in the hollow point of the vineyard, fenced on both sides, the low plain country being on the other side. And the horses ran rapidly in the place and presented each other, and the other horse preserved the king's horses. Verse 44, and the king's horse fell into the low plain whilst the king was riding upon it. And when he fell, the chariot turned over the king's face, and the horse laid upon the king. And the king cried out, for his flesh was very sore. Okay, we're going to take a music break at this particular time and come back. We will get into the book of Jasher, Jasher 77, along with verse 45. We're going to take a quick music break. Just want to remind you, the number to call is 347-205-9279. If you have, just hit that little bar, raise your hand up, and let them know that you want to be a guest on the particular show. That will let me know that you have a question or comment. Those of you all who are in the chat room, I'm looking at your question or comment as we take our music break at this time. We'll be right back with a music selection by Winston Mukasa from the nation of Uganda, Breathe in Me. Got a grip on me.
that you breathe in me today. You refine me for service once again. I've been dead, Lord. Today is my day that you breathe in your life. Hey, hey, come on. Come on, Lord. Today,
And we are back right here with the Book of Jasher. We are in chapter 77, chapter for tonight. I did have a question in the chat room. The question was, which Pharaoh was this article speaking of? Actually, the leader of, I believe this person is saying, Kemet, Virid called themselves this word. Also, what association with slavery and plantation life is being suggested in my pictures that I have on the websites. The children of the children of Israel were enslaved twice. First time enslaved by the Egyptians. The second time was enslaved here in the Americas. I want to let you know that all 12 tribes, well not 12, all 10 tribes were enslaved in Egypt, and also Ephraim were Joseph's children. They were in Egypt as well, part of that. So that's, yeah, that makes up. I don't know exactly what Pharaoh is. We've bypassed that in previous chapters. You can probably Google that, and I believe you will come up with that information on the name of that particular Pharaoh. I believe just a couple of days ago, or maybe a week or so ago, we did give the name of this particular Pharaoh that was over the children of Israel when he made the proclamation what the children of Israel were doing while they will be enslaved. So we've already passed that, but that's on a previous show. I do not yet have that information that's on there. I'd like to remind you that the book of Jasher is mentioned in Joshua in the King James Bible in Joshua chapter 10, verse 13. And we do know that there were several books, a lot of books taken out by the Roman Catholic Church because of information that will implicate them far as what are some of the things that they were going to, especially on prophecy that just hadn't happened yet. Okay, so thank you for your comment or question. Feel free to leave me an email address, and I will get a deeper answer for you if you wish to know that particular information. I just don't have that on me right now. We're doing certain chapters each night on this particular program. Okay, let's start back at 45. And the flesh of the king was torn from him, and his bones were broken, and he could not ride. For this thing was from the Most High to him. For the Lord had heard the cries of his people, the children of Israel, and their affliction. Verse 46, and his servants carried him upon their shoulder, a little at a time, and they brought him back to Egypt. And the horsemen who were with him came also back to Egypt. Verse 47, and they placed him in his bed, and the king knew that his end was come to die. So let me see if I can pronounce this. Aphrodite, the queen, his wife, came and cried before the king, and the king wept a great weeping with her. Let's see. I believe, y'all, excuse me one moment. I believe that I have backtracked. Hang on one second, y'all. Bear with me, and because I believe we're in chapter 77.
Cleaning out my closet, mixed team.
Yeah, to everyone listening, what's going on? It's Scheinberg, let's go. Yeah, 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. Say 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. Grinding for peace, you know we are the sure shot. 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. Say 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. 1, 2, y'all, ain't you don't stop. Grinding for peace, you know we are the sure shot. Ain't just talking about it, man, I'm living the life. You know I'm walking around with the spirit of Christ. Yeah. On the battlefield, day and night. Somebody gotta do it. Hey yo, my reason and my purpose for writing down these words is my brothers on the curb, running after they urges. Some have become herbalists, crack dealers and murderers, caterpillars, act like gorillas and it's hurting us. Already took the earth from us, plainclothes burglars, ran up on the homeland with hammers fan merciless. On the sand, circled us, a full bliss from the boat, they hurried to approach the surplus. Threw us on the block for $1 while to purchase us. Now I hear the cannon burst and bust over my shoulder, man, it's us trying to murder us. Banging over, driving by in a black truck, I don't know what's up, man, for real. Hey yo, I don't know what's up, can't believe they try and kill their own. Somebody gotta put the king back on the throne, so I'm here to do it. You gotta believe this is more than music. Ain't just talking about it, man, I'm living the life. You know I'm walking around with the spirit of Christ. I'm out there on the battlefield, day and night. Somebody gotta do it. Yeah, but I know the truth is leaking out. Listen to the wind and I can hear what they speak about. Besides screaming out, I got that reefer out. Talking about the next speaker out, man, they reaching out. They ask each other what the boy Jesus about. Say, I know we was raised in the hood, but can we get out? The answer is yes, this is so it's the hand in the tech. Can produce tears, blood, and sweat, just like the compression of your chest. Can produce breath, and that breath produce stress. You can produce success. Yes, I bet all of my loot to prove that you blessed. Spend all of my time dropping these lines in the U.S. I write the rhymes that show up on the news desk. Get a message to who's left. God, make them new and fresh. Yeah, please God, make them new and fresh. I made it a point to never forget about the rest. Ain't just talking about it, man, I'm living the life. You know I'm walking around with the spirit of Christ. I'm out there on the battlefield, day and night. Somebody gotta do it. Yeah. 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. Say 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. Grinding for peace, you know we are the sure shot. 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. Say 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. 1, 2, y'all, and you don't stop. Grinding for peace, you know we are the sure shot. Yeah, this how it goes down. It's Scheinberg, South Philly exclusive. Shout out to my man Sty Sharp, Society Park, Cypher Chronicles, grinding for peace. My man Royce Cali. Yeah. I ain't just talking about it, man, I'm living the life. You know I'm walking around with the spirit of Christ. I'm out there on the battlefield, day and night. Somebody gotta do it.
Okay, we are back. Found my place. I got kind of sidetracked answering questions. Just want to let the person in the chat room know if she would or he would do research. You can see who the children of Israel are according to the Bible, and you can know this by reading Deuteronomy chapter 28. And let me give you some key verses, but Deuteronomy chapter 28 verses 15 all the way through 68 tells who are these particular people here in the United States. Yes, we are from West Africa. We stayed there for a period of time, but guess what? We got ran out of Israel in 70 AD into West Africa. We stayed there for a period of time. There's a book you need to get and do some research on. It's called From Babylon to Timbuktu, and you will see that they have some things, Hebrew things that will give you evidence to let you know that we are the blacks and Latinos here in America today. This will give you evidence to show you that we are the people of the Bible. You had Japheth, you had Shem, and you had Ham. These are the three sons of Noah. Hamites, they are the people of Cain. Cush, those are from Ham. I don't have a lot of time right now to do this, but to prove my case on this, and that brings me up to this particular notice to let people know that we're starting a new series around the 21st of November, Crime Scene Investigation. And this, what I'm talking about right now, deals with that. Why this identity theft is so rampant, especially in the Christian church. Now, I have already denounced the pagan Christianity that's been going on. I am a follower of Christ. This organization follows Christ, who happens to be Hebrew Israelite. So we did stay in a time in a period of time for as being in West Africa. The reason why we were in West Africa was because the Romans ran our butts out of there and didn't heed the warning to Christ's prophecy about what was going to be happening. That can be found in Matthew chapter 21 or 22, I believe. But research these key scriptures and see if they don't line up of who we are. This prophecy was speaking to the children of Israel. And I'm going to give you some key verses, and I'll mention only about maybe one or two before we get back to the lesson according to Jasher. But Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 15 all the way to 68. Some key verses you need to look at identifies the blacks here in America, which is also known as Babylon. You can call the Americas, also known as spiritual Sodom as well as spiritual Egypt. But verse 36, 37, and I want to read verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead thee. A byword or a proverb is all the names that other nations call us, and I'm speaking about Edom's people. Edom, or you can say Caucasian, or you can say white. What word that we are called out of our names so many times? Let's say the N word that kind of speaks to everybody that is African American here in this particular country. Also, I want to give you a scripture to pay close attention to is verse 41 of Deuteronomy chapter 28. And verse 48. Now, this last part of verse 48, if you've seen Django, if you've seen the movie Django, you notice that they had slaves walking down the street, and they had these iron pieces around their neck and bars sticking out. This was to identify and also to keep them not movable. They tried to run away. Now, look at the prophecy concerning this. Let me go ahead and read the entire verse. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which the Most High shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he, our enemies, we have enemies here in America. Yes, if you are black and back then in the Americas as a slave, your enemy is white. That was your enemy at that time. He shall, talking about the enemy, he shall put a yoke of iron up on your neck. Now, that's crystal clear. It's talking about slavery. If you look at man's history or natural history, you will see the resemblance of that right here in this particular country. Moving on, verse 62, verse 64, and verse 68. My last verse I want to read, and I want to get back. We're probably going to be going into overtime as we speak to finish out this segment of the book of Jasher, these chapters. Verse 68, and the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. We were in Egypt the first time. Now, if you look at the definition or look in your strong concordance to find out what does Egypt in this particular passage means, it means house of bondage. What bondage? Slavery. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. And who is the enemies of the black race doing slavery? Our white Caucasian that we have are living among right here in the USA. Now, people who are Caucasian, don't take this personally. This is all about truth. This is not about race. And I said before on crime scene investigation, that series that we did, this is not about skin color. This is about brothers. When you understand Jacob and Esau, you will understand racism. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondsmen and bondswomen, and no man shall buy you or redeem you. Now, if that's not clear, crystal clear, and I can go on and on about our flight here from West Africa, but it didn't start in West Africa. It started in Israel. Yes, we are the people of the Bible. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get back to our study right here for tonight. And the flesh of the king was torn from him, verse 45, and his bones were broken, and he could not ride. For this thing was from the Most High to him, and from the Lord had heard the cries of his people, the children of Israel, and their affliction. Verse 46, and his servants carried him upon their shoulders a little at a time, and they brought him back to Egypt. And the horsemen who were with him came also back to Egypt. 47. And they placed him in his bed, and the king knew that his end was coming to die. So Aphrodite, the queen, his wife, came and cried before the king, and the king wept, a great weeping with her. Verse 48. And all this and the servants came on that day and saw the king in the affliction, and wept a great weeping with him. 49. And the princes of the king and all his counselors advised the king to cause one to reign in his stead in the land, whosoever he should choose from his sons. Verse 50. And the king had 3 sons and 2 daughters, which Aphrodite, the queen, his wife, had born to him, besides the king's children of concubines. Verse 51. And these were the names: the firstborn, Othira; the second, Adikam; and the third, Morin; and their sisters, the name of the elder, Bathia; and of the other, Akosi. Up, you all just kind of bear with me. Verse 52. Verse 52 in this particular chapter. And Othira, the firstborn of the king, was an idiot, participating and hurling in his words. But Adikam was cunning and wise man, and knowing in all the wisdom of Egypt, but of unseemly aspect, thick in flesh, and very short in stature. His height was 1 cubit. Verse 54. And when the king saw Adikam, his son, intelligent and wise in all things, the king resolved that he should be king for him a wife, Gideah, daughter of Abilat, and he was 10 years old, and she bare to him 4 sons. And he afterward went and took 3 wives, and begot 8 sons and 3 daughters. 57. And the disorder greatly prevailed over the king, and his flesh stank like the flesh of a carcasses cast upon the field in summertime during the heat of the sun. Verse 58. And when the king saw that his sickness had greatly strengthened itself over him, he ordered his son Adikam to be brought to him, and they made him king over the land in his place. Verse 59. In of 3 years the king died in shame, disgrace, and disgust, and his servant called him and buried him in a sepulchre of the king of Egypt in Zoel, Mizraim. Verse 6. And they embalmed him not as was usual with kings, for his flesh was prudent, and they could not approach to embalm him on account of the stench. So they buried him in haste. Verse 61. For this evil was from the Most High to him, for the Most High had requited him evil for the evil which in his day he had done to Israel. This is the Pharaoh, or the king, that caused all this drama with the children of Israel. At one particular time in previous chapters, we found out Joseph was ruler over Egypt. Over Egypt, they had peace among the Israelites as well as the Egyptians. But this particular Pharaoh basically kind of messed up in the mind, and he wanted to go ahead and enslave the Israelites. And you know the rest of the story according to Genesis. Now, we are in chapter 77, which is only a few, and so with the time remaining, we're going to go ahead and finish that out. 77 verse Jasher chapter 77 verse 1. Adikam was 20 years old when he reigned over Egypt. He reigned 4 years. Verse 2. In the 250th year of Israel going down to Egypt did Adikam reign over Egypt, but he continued not so long in his reign over Egypt as his father had continued their reign. The previous Pharaoh reigned over Egypt at that time, which was enslaved Israel. Verse 3, for Milo, his father, reigned 94 years in Egypt, but he was 10 years sick and died, for he had been wicked before the Most High. Verse 40, and all the Egyptians called the name of Adikah Pharaoh. You see that person in the chat room? And all the Egyptians called the name of, now let me go ahead and spell that out for you because my English is not up to par with all this this wording. Adikam, name of Adikam, Pharaoh, like the name of his fathers, as was their custom to do in Egypt. Verse 5, and all the wise men of Pharaoh called the name of Adikam Ahuz, that's A-H-U-Z for short. He called Ahuz the Egyptian language. Verse 6, and Adikam was exceedingly ugly, and he was a cubit and a span, and he had a great beard which reached to the soles of his feet. Verse 7, and Pharaoh sat upon his father's throne to reign over Egypt, and he conducted the government of Egypt in his wisdom. Verse 8, and while his reign he exceeded his father and all the preceding kings in wickedness, and he increased his yoke, here's that word yoke again, over the children of Israel. Yoke of the yoke, having them in bondage in Egypt and having them in bondage here in the Americas. Verse 9, and he went with his servants to Goshen, to the children of Israel. This is where the Israelites stayed. This was the Israelite camp for all slaves. And he strengthened the labor over them, and he said unto them, complete your work, each day's task, and let not your hands slacken from our work from this day forward, as you did in the days of my father. Verse 10, and he placed officers over them from amongst the children of Israel. And over these officers he placed taskmasters from among his servants. Sound like Uncle Tom's to me. Verse 11, well, not Uncle Tom's, but, you know, if you want to call it that, house Negroes, field Negroes, that type of thing. This is the people of the house, so to speak. All right, verse 11. And he placed over them measures of bricks for them to do accordingly to that number, day by day. And he turned back and went to Egypt. Verse 12. At that time the Pharaoh ordered the officers of the children of Israel according to the command of Pharaoh's saying, thus saith Pharaoh, do your work each day and finish your task, and observe the daily measure of bricks. Diminish not anything. Verse 14, and it shall come to pass that if you are deficient in your daily bricks, I will put your young children in their stead. Verse 15, and the taskmasters of Egypt did so in those days as Pharaoh had ordered them. So if you want to know about that pyramid we think we so proud of, just want to remind you, those are blood, sweat, and tears inside those bricks. Literally, children inside of a brick for slowing down the work of pyramids. Verse 16, and whenever any deficiency was found in the children of Israel's measure of their daily bricks, the taskmasters of Pharaoh would go to the wives of the children of Israel and take infants of the children of Israel to the number of bricks deficient. They would take them by force from their mothers' laps and put them in the building instead of the bricks. Verse 17, whilst their father and mother were crying over them and weeping when they heard the weeping voice of their infants in the walls of the building. My. Verse 18, and the taskmasters prevailed over Israel, that the Israelites should place their children in the building, so that a man placed his son in the wall and put mortar over him, whilst his eyes wept over him, and his tears ran down upon his child. Verse 19, and the task, I'll never look at a pyramid again, thinking and marveling after it. Verse 19, and the taskmasters of Egypt did so to the babies of Israel for many days, and no one pitied or had compassion over the babies of the children of Israel. Verse 20, and the number of all the children killed in the building was 270, some who they had built upon instead of the bricks, which had been left deficient by their fathers, and some who they had drawn out dead from the. I want to make reference about the children of Israel leaving Israel and going into West Africa. Good week would be to pick up the book of Josephus. Some were captured in Israel when the Romans surrounded Jerusalem. Some, they stayed there, and you can see the siege of that. Some were taken as slaves and went to the Colosseum as sport, and the ones that were lucky to get out of there went into West Africa on that. So you can look and read. That is a Hebrew Israelite, the book of Josephus. He can give you historical facts of things that happened when the Romans encamped around the nation of Israel or the city of Jerusalem. Verse 21, and the labor imposed upon the children of Israel in the days of Anakan is seated in hardship that which they performed in the days of his father. Verse 22, and the children of Israel signed every day on account of their heavy work, for they had said to themselves, behold, when Pharaoh shall die, his son will rise up and lighten our work. Verse 23, but they increased the latter work more than the former, and the children of Israel sigh in this, and they cry sin to the Most High on account of their labor. Verse 24, and the Most High heard the voice of the children of Israel and their cry. In those days the Most High remembered to them his covenant which he had made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Verse 25, and the Most High saw the burdens of the children of Israel and their heavy work in those days, and he determined to deliver them. I want to just get off point for a minute. One of the children of Israel left a legacy since we're speaking on pyramids. These pyramids are also in Mexico. They are the ruins of the Mayans. The Mayans, that's just another name because their true name, they are Israelites. They are part of the northern tribe, and their name is called Issachar. How did they know to build those pyramids in Mexico throughout that area? Well, that's because their forefathers were in prison alone, were in slavery along with their brothers, Negroes, the Negroes right here in Egypt. They were a part of the 12 tribes, the 12 brothers who had different moms, same daddy. Just a little side note for you all that are taking notes and want to do more. research on that. And you say, well, how did those pyramids get like that? Well, you got to look at the first pyramids were in Egypt. They built them there. Well, if you had the books that they deleted, the books which we will be talking in CSI, which are called the Apocrypha books, you will know that this land was inhabited by people who are already here. Most of you all know them by the Native American Indians. Well, throughout Central and South America was another group, which were your Mexicans and your Aztecs. And that's just another name of the tribe of Issachar, and your North American Indians are the tribe of Gad. They are the northern tribe of Israel. Israel had a split. The Judah, the Negro tribes were mostly in the southern part of Israel, and your lighter tribes of Issachar and Gad were the northern part of tribe. We're going to be talking a lot about this on CSI, Crime Scene Investigation, but we just about getting ready to finish up the Book of Jasher, which gives you a complete understanding of the book of Genesis. Okay, verse 22, real quick before we run out of time. And the children of Israel sighed every day on account of the heavy work, for they had said to themselves, behold, when Pharaoh shall die, his son will rise up and lighten our work. But verse 23 again, but they increased the latter work more than the former, and the children of Israel sighed as they at this, and their cry ascended to the Most High on account of their labor. 24, and the Most High heard the voice of the children of Israel and their cry in those days, and the Most High remembered to them his covenant which he had made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob only. He does not recognize anybody else but Jacob's people only, from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Verse, that is the promise. Not to say other people can be blessed, but these are the ones that will be blessed in prophecy. Verse 25, and the Most High saw the burden of the children of Israel and their heavy work in those days, and he determined to deliver them. Verse 26, and Moses, the son of Amram, was still confined in the dungeon in those days, in the house of Reuel, the Midianite, and Zipporah, the daughter of Reuel, did support him with food 70 day by day. Moses getting ready to deliver the children of Israel, but right at this particular time, he is in captivity. All right, verse 27. And Moses was confined in the dungeon in the house of Reuel for 10 years. 28, 10 years, which was the first year of the reign of Pharaoh over Egypt in the place of his father. Verse 29. Zipporah said to her father Reuel, no person inquire or seek after the Hebrew man whom thou didst bind in prison now 10 years. Verse 30. Now therefore, if it seems good in thy sight, let us send and see whether he is living or dead. But her father knew not that she had supported him. Verse 31. And Reuel, her father, answered and said to her, has ever such a thing happened that a man should be shut up in prison without food for 10 years, and that he should live? Oh, asking her a question. Verse 32, and Zipporah answered her father, saying, surely thou hast heard that the Most High of the Hebrews is great and awful, and does wonders for them at all times. Going to check out time real quick. Okay. All right. Who delivered Abraham from Ur of the Chaldeans, and Isaac from the sword of his father, and Jacob from the angel of the Lord, who wrestled with him at the ford of Jabbok. Somebody had been studying with Moses. Verse 34. And with this man has he done many things. He delivered him from the river in Egypt and from the sword of Pharaoh and from the children of Cush. So also can he deliver him from famine and made him live. Verse 35, and the thing seemed good in the sight of Reuel, and he did according to the word of his daughter, and sent to the dungeon to ascertain what became of Moses. 36, and he saw, and behold, the man Moses was living in the dungeon, standing upon his feet, praising and praying to the Most High of his ancestors. Verse 37, and Reuel commanded Moses to be brought out of the dungeon. So they shaved him and changed his prison garments. So Moses went into the garden of Reuel, which was behind the house, and he there prayed to the Lord his God, who had done mighty wonders for him. 39, and 39, let's see, and while, okay, all right. And it was that while he prayed, he looked opposite to him, and behold, a sapphire stick was placed in the ground, which was planted in the midst of the garden. 40. And he approached the stick, and he looked, and behold, the name of the Lord God of hosts, excuse me, was engraved thereon, written and developed upon the stick. Verse 41, and he read it and stretched forth his hand, and he plucked it like a forest tree from the thickest, and the stick was in his hand. 42. And this is the stick with which all the work of our God was performed, after he had created heaven and earth, and all the hosts of them, seas, rivers, and all their fish. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hopefully real quickly, if we do not finish this, if my time runs out, time's run out because I only got like about, this chapter is about 52 chapters, about 52 chapters. See if I can run through this real quick before Blog Talk turns me off. And when the Most High had driven Adam from the Garden of Eden, he took the stick in his hand and went and tilled the ground from which he was taken. Verse 44, and the stick came down to Noah, and was given to Shem and his descendants until it came into the hand of Abraham the Hebrew. Verse 45, and when Abraham had given all he had to his son Isaac, he also gave to him this stick. Verse 46, and when Jacob had fled to Padan, he took it into his hand, and when he returned to his father, he had not left it behind him. Verse 47. Verse 47 of the book of Jasher 77. Also, when he went down to his hand and gave it to Joseph, above his brethren, for Jacob had taken it by force from his brother Esau. 48. And after the death of Joseph, the nobles of Egypt came into the house of Joseph, and the stick came into the hand of Reuel the Midianite. And when he went out of Egypt, he took it in his hand and planted it in his garden. Wow. Would you look at that? Verse 49. And all the mighty men of Kenites tried to pluck it when they endeavored to get Zipporah his daughter, but they were unsuccessful. So verse 50, so that this stick remained planted in the garden of Reuel until he came who had a right to it and took it. Verse 51, the final verse of chapter 77. And when Reuel saw the stick in the hand of Moses, he wondered at it, and he gave him his daughter, is how he got her as his wife. This is the end of chapter 77, 78 on tomorrow, late night here. So I just want to let you all know I was focused mostly on reading what I will do, I will answer the questions. I see I got a whole ton of them left while I was reading, and we're going to look at that, and we're going to maybe get that tomorrow, and we're going to tackle that tomorrow, and we're going to answer that. And I've come across this a whole lot, where people still don't believe today. Some blacks still don't believe. Some blacks here in America think they're Egyptians, but because of slavery, because they don't believe in the Most High, they don't know prophecy, and they still think that this particular Bible is fake. But I kid you not, everything here is of truth. So until tomorrow, this is Brother Malachi letting you all know that we've just finished chapter 77, and we will be back tomorrow, radio. Shalom.
What are those? What?
Are you
Jewish?
The Most High
command that stuff. We're not under the law. Jesus died and took all that away, man.
Man, look.
I don't get you Israelite guys. You're black and not Jewish.
What you talking about?
Just trip me out sometimes, you know? Israelites, man, I don't even get you guys. You black and anti-Semitic, right? Anti-Christian rights activists, Afrocentric Judaic antagonist, violent Jehovah's Witness, right? Looking for another scripture fight.
Wait, let me paint this in a different light. Not anti-Christian, but most Christians are missing light. Israelite isn't a religion, it's ancestral ties. And if I had a religion, then it would be the scriptures. Why I say anti-Semitic? Semitic means descendants of Shem, and we descended from him.
What about Jews?
What about Jews? The who is the tribe, sometimes used for southern, but never mentions the other 9 lies. Judaism is a religion which traces Jewishness through maternal lineage. So, are they Jews? Well, religiously yes, but biblically no. Many converted, not all, but physically most. So what's the verdict? Where did the originals go? Ethiopia, Timbuktu, Zimbabwe, Ghana, scattered across the globe as transatlantic cargo, as the prophecy told. Deuteronomy 28:64 shows. If we didn't obey the Torah, then we'd be sold to our enemies' pope. The penalty imposed through centuries of bondage, oppression by cold-hearted devils who never showed any respect to young or old.
So, it doesn't matter, there's neither Jew or Gentile in Christ. Black or white ain't a factor, cause he paid the sacrifice.
Wait, have you ever read Isaiah chapter 5? We were taken captive for a lack of knowledge, we could not survive. The Most High made us a light to the nations, he expects more, though the consequences more devastating. That's our position, I'm just telling you so you can play it. But we in religions with sellers who to violate the laws of Yah, so our punishments perpetuated farther. Pulpit hustlers are defecating on us and spending crazy dollars. We in Section 8 apartments, talking about ties, but ties are not money, so what they saying are lies.
They didn't have money back then, it's only crops.
Thought they had silver coins, that translates into guap, which was never tied. So them lies are raping your pocket, saying it's fine to celebrate pagan holidays, paying homage to a pagan goddess named Ishtar, aka Easter. But it's okay, just change the name and say Jesus. God accepts you no matter how evil. Christmas tree, idol of fertility, Sunday some God, mystery, Babylon, religion, Trinity, Egyptian God originally. Switch the names, systematic Catholic Church institute Sunday worship, forget to Sabbath. Rhetoric invented to make us forget commandments.
Wait a second, believers don't have to keep the 10 commandments. Man isn't justified by works of the law. So all doing works are cursed. Look at Paul. You gotta be in the spirit when you're worshiping God. And the Sabbath is just a shadow of a worthier call.
Okay, if not committing adultery doesn't make me justified, it doesn't make it okay for me to crush your wife. It doesn't quite add up. Justified means acquit from guilt. So when you broke the law would not acquit you, it would get you killed. The Messiah took our position for sin, but traditional Christians teach it as permission to sin. In addition, the Torah gives the definition of sin. Discipline, this is the instance your repentance begins.
Listen, show me one place that Jesus told us keep the Sabbath.
Fine, let's take a ride. Hope you got your seatbelt fastened. Matthew 5 condemns breaking the least commandment. Sabbath carries death penalty, so it's not less technically. Let's get this in retrospect. It never says don't, so common sense says let's go with the Old Testament. You never read don't sex animals in the New, but you knew cause you read it up in Leviticus 20. True, when your pastor be eating pork up in his Bentley coupe, spending all your ties on ties for his expensive suit. We catching catching hell just because we represent the truth. You've been duped into worshiping gods with Eurocentric roots. We catching hell just because we represent the truth. You've been duped into worshiping gods with esoteric roots. We catching hell just because we represent the truth. You've been duped into worshiping gods with Eurocentric roots.
Oh man, never thought about it like that. This is research. You here every Saturday?